Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television is sponsored by Nutrien. Nutrien, feeding the future.
Hello everyone and welcome to Perspective. This is a public affairs presentation of Florida Gateway College. It's also a public affairs presentation of WQHL and WCAJX Radio. We welcome those listeners to our program. Today's program is all rodeo. It's the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo and it's going to be in town in March. We'll talk to some of the organizers of the event when we come back. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
Action!
Welcome back to Perspective on FGC TV. I'm Mike McKee and I'd like to welcome our guests to the program. They're all newbies. They've not been on the program before, but they represent the Fair Association, the Fairgrounds, I guess it's the Gateway Fairgrounds. We have Stephen Bailey on the far end. He is the president of the Rodeo Association and the Fair. We also have Kelly Brown, who is the secretary-treasurer of the organization. And then I think we have our first beauty queen that we've ever had on FGC TV. We have Dallas FRIERSON, who is the rodeo queen from the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo for last year.
Yes.
Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Now we've had Mike Nelson in the past, and we're not going to say anything about Mike or some of the others. This is a much better looking group than we've had from the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo. But Dallas, I wanted to first talk to you. You've got an expertise about rodeo. Well, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
You're 17 years old,
Yes,
and
sir.
how long have you been a part of rodeos here in our area?
Oh, that's a tough question. I've always grown up, my family's been a rodeo family, so I've always grown up and been a part of the rodeo. But I didn't really actually start doing a lot of rodeo stuff until the last couple of years, about 3-4 years.
But you knew about the rodeo. Your parents took you,
Yes, sir.
and you liked the atmosphere. Do you ride a horse?
Yes, sir, I ride a lot. And actually, the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo was the first rodeo and the first pro rodeo that I ever had the opportunity of experiencing.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, it's a pageant.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the things that you have to do in the pageant? I mean, obviously, you got to be able to ride a horse, right?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that part of the competition? Talk about what the competition is all involved.
Well, for our pageant, we have 3 parts. First, and one of the most important, is interview. Because to be a queen, you have to know how to talk, and you must be knowledgeable. And
Sort of like what you're doing right now.
yes, sir.
So you're old hat at this. This is nothing to you, right? But you're still a little nervous.
Yes, sir. I'm still a little bit nervous. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so you have opportunity to do a little interview, and
Yes,
they ask
sir.
you questions. What kind of questions do they ask you?
A lot of the questions that they'll ask will be personality questions, and they also will just ask questions about the sport. They might ask certain dates or questions about certain people in the event, icons and important figures in the sport. And another portion of the pageant, which is my personal favorite, is horsemanship.
Now, what's involved in horsemanship? Obviously, not everybody can ride a horse. I've seen people get on a horse and then get thrown off the horse, and
Yes, sir.
they think they know, this is a piece of cake, but there's a little bit to it, isn't there?
Yes, sir. Well, everyone can ride a horse, but not many people can ride a horse right. But
So there's a distinction.
yes,
Now, like
sir.
all right, so you make it go to the right, or you make it go to the left. You gotta make it stop.
There's a little more finesse to it, a little bit
Okay.
of put my foot here, a little bit of lift here. It's a lot of practice. Felt like I started practicing a good solid month beforehand just on my riding, just for the pageant. But for horsemanship, you want to have really light hands, and you want to have good feet, and you want to be able to show that you can handle a horse while carrying a flag, because that's a big deal. As queens, we're supposed to represent our sponsors of the rodeo and thank them, so we'll carry sponsorship flags, or one minute we might be down there helping leading the barrel racers, And we just do whatever we need to do, as we're told, pretty much.
Well,
Yes,
and
sir.
you mentioned something. You got to have light hands. I'm not sure. I guess that's the reins on the horse.
Yes, sir, the reins on
but
the
it's
horse,
also,
yes, sir.
like you said, you have to carry a flag.
Yes,
Frankly, when I'm the saddle, the little horn on the saddle,
Yes,
I
sir.
want to have a hold of that with the reins.
No, sir, we don't need to hold the horn.
Yeah, well, especially if you're carrying something in your
Yes,
hand.
sir.
So it is difficult. It takes a little bit of
Yes, sir.
coordination. But when you talk about your feet, you're giving the horse a little
A
little
nudge. A
little
little
nudge.
nudge. You don't want to kick him and spur him. He ain't a bronc horse. You want to squeeze him lightly. And what's the hardest thing is keeping your heels down and your toes up. You think, oh, that is easy. It is not easy. It is very hard.
So I mean, there's a lot to this. Now,
Yes, sir.
what else is there? I mean, obviously, you do the interview. You've got horsemanship. What
Yes,
are
sir.
some other things that you have to know and do well in order to be the rodeo queen?
Well, we actually have a whole nother special portion to our pageant. Our pageant's really cool. We have a freestyle pattern, which is where you get to make up your own pattern. You have costumes and you do it to your own music. Pretty much you make your whole pattern. And you have to really know your horse because you'll pick certain maneuvers such as spins or stops that your horse excels in. And you'll then perform that. And that shows that you have creativity, you know your horse, and you know how to work your horse. And that's what's really special and honestly cool about the Florida Gateway pageant, because a lot of rodeo queen pageants do not have a freestyle portion. But all in all, you just have to be a all-around knowledgeable person about the sport. You have to know how to ride and sort of be a hand when it comes to any and everything rodeo.
All right. So you say you have your own horse.
Yes, sir.
So you're not. It's not like a draw, like the rodeo guys that
No, sir, not
they
for
draw
us.
the number 4, and it happens to be Dynamite, the bull,
Yes,
and you're
sir.
going to ride that. You raised your own horse.
Yes, sir. Well, for our pageant, you get to bring your own horse, but for the state level pageants, you will end up drawing a horse. The queen will.
Well, let me ask you this now. So there's an opportunity for you to go on, right?
Yes, sir.
Where do you go on next as the representative of the Florida Gateway Rodeo?
Well, March 13th, I will give up my crown, and after that, I have intentions of pursuing a state level.
Competition?
Yes, sir.
Now, where is the state? Is there Tampa? Or?
Well, the pageant will be down, I believe it will be in St. Cloud, Florida, and this will be for Miss Teen Rodeo Florida, because I really wanted to get my feet wet, and I just love the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo. And I said, I want to win my first crown and hold my first title there. So I went, and I won it, thankfully.
Well, and we hope that you'll let us know how you do in
Yes, sir, I definitely will.
I mean, is there, and I don't know, maybe you don't know this, but is there an opportunity to go to the big rodeo out in Las Vegas and be a part of this
National Finals
competition?
Rodeo? Yes, sir. Well, see, that I'll have to be a lot older, but if I want, the winner of Miss Rodeo Florida will then go on to the Miss Rodeo America pageant, and the Miss Rodeo America pageant goes on during, I believe, the first 5 days of the National Finals Rodeo, and they will get the opportunity to go out to the National Finals Rodeo, which is it's the Super Bowl of our sport. It really is. It is the 10 richest days in rodeo, as they say, and it is just one of the coolest events that you can ever see. It's in Las Vegas. You have the lights, the action, but then at the same time you have one of America's most extreme and just traditional sports, rodeo.
Let's talk to you guys down there on the couch too. So when is the rodeo? The 14th of March,
The rodeo is March 13th, 14th, and 15th.
which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Friday and Saturday performances are at 8 o'clock at night, and the Sunday afternoon performance is at 2 p.m.
Now, Stephen, talk us through this. What the competition is different each day, or are there different competitors? Kelly, you're shaking your head.
Go ahead.
No, they perform the same 7 events every single day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It gives, I think they do 10 each in each performance. So they are competing in barrel racing, bull riding, saddle bronc. They compete all 7 events, all 3 days of the rodeo.
So is there a better score that you can get on a certain day, or is it?
No, your score is based on your stock. It's not based on what day you ride on.
Okay, so I mean, you could do a better ride on a Saturday versus Friday?
No, sir.
Oh.
It's just the luck of the day that you get to come ride.
You can only come ride
Yeah,
one day.
yeah.
One day. So if your draw is for Saturday, you're competing against the riders who ride on Friday and on Sunday. So but you can only ride on one day of the weekend. So you're
Okay.
competing against everyone that's in
So it's
the
not
whole
like
weekend.
it's not like a bracket. It's like luck of the draw. So let's talk about the different events that take place in the rodeo. I know that most people think of the bull riding because I know on CBS, I think sometimes on Sunday afternoons they have the bull riding competition and they do it. So I know that's part of this rodeo. What else is there?
So we have all the major rodeo events. We'll have bull riding, team roping, calf roping, saddle bronc, bareback, steer wrestling, and of course the women's barrel racing. And our rodeo, we have is sanctioned through the PRCA, which is the Professional Cowboys Rodeo Association. But we also, for our barrel racers, we allow the local competition and our local girls to be able to compete and ride as well. So there's actually 2 rounds of barrel racing during each performance.
So is there, and there obviously, it's not just the competition. There's other things going on at the rodeo as well. You've got this pageant that takes place. What else can people expect food? I mean, obviously there's going to be food out there.
We do. We have incredible food vendors. On Sunday, we offer our special rodeo, which is we open that up to our handicap families in Columbia County. They get to come out and experience what rodeo actually is. They may never get to ride a horse or touch a steer or a cow, and this gives them the opportunity to be able to come out and experience what rodeo is.
Now, Stephen, in addition to this being a competition, and in all serious, when you're riding a 1,000-pound bull, and the 1,000-pound bull wants you off, that's serious competition. And is it 8 seconds? I hear that's the time that you've got to stay on this animal without being bucked off.
That's right. 8 seconds is a qualified ride.
Okay, and so can they be longer?
They can, but they're trying to get off after 8 seconds.
Yeah, well, I mean, I imagine, a steer or a bull that just doesn't want to be ridden is, where does the scoring come in? I mean, is it the way you hold your hand as you're riding, or how do the judges determine what's, I mean, number one, the criteria is 8 seconds.
Right.
That's, if you
Yes.
get that, then anything between that 0 to 8 is style points?
No, there's 2 components to the score. The animal is scored based on how well he performs. Like if we're talking about bull riding, they're going to look at the bull, how well he jumps and his spins and things of that nature. Then they're also going to score the cowboy on how well he rides. There are certain rules that they cannot touch the animal with their free hand, how well they hold their legs. There's just all kind of different things that the judges are looking at. Then the judges compile their scores together to get the final score.
Well, and from what I understand, this is a draw thing, right? So you may get the nastiest bull in, and do they have reputations? I mean,
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So are we going to have, I mean, are there any bulls with reputations that we're going to see at this rodeo?
We're not sure what stock is coming. Diamond, or 4L and Diamond S Rodeo is our stock contractor. They have some really good stock that they bring to our rodeo, so we'll have some good stock that'll be there. So our Cowboys look forward to.
For the layman out there that doesn't know what stock means, we're talking animals, correct?
The animals,
Yes, sir.
that's correct.
And I guess that's where livestock comes from.
That's right.
So you may get to see a bull that has appeared in a big rodeo somewhere else, right?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, several.
Talk about that, Kelly, because that's pretty cool. Here we are in Little Lake City, which is not really little anymore, but you could see an animal that has been maybe in Vegas.
You're absolutely correct. Charlie and Wanda Lowry, our stock contractors that provide our stock for the Lake City Rodeo, have had several bulls that have appeared in the past or in several NFRs out in Las Vegas.
Now, Stephen, maybe this is not a good question to ask, but what the heck? Are there people that follow the animals? I mean, obviously you follow the Cowboys, you
sure.
follow the career of the Cowboys, but is there a bull that you may say, this thing is just awesome, I'm going to watch it?
Oh, absolutely. If you follow the sport of rodeo, you pay attention to the animals that are in it, and they're all named and numbered and stuff, and so you follow those animals and kind of keep up with who's able to ride them and who's not.
So, again, I want to reiterate, these animals are not injured or abused.
no, sir.
you,
Not at all.
you say,
No,
because, some people say, well, that is just so wrong. But this has been going on for hundreds of years.
Yes, sir.
Talk about, I know you care for your horse,
Yes, sir.
but they wouldn't be able to do this rodeo if they didn't take care of their animals.
Yes, sir. And they're animal athletes. They're not just a piece of equipment. They're an athlete just like the cowboy and the cowgirl. They receive some of the best attention and care. It can be 30 degrees outside and raining, and if that stock contractor has a bull who's sick, he's going to stand out there all night, call his vet, doctor him. They're athletes, and they get top-notch care. They really do. And you work a bull might work 2 minutes out the whole year, and then he'll live a great life, get to eat all that he wants, they're fat, they're happy, and after they do their job, they're just like, all right, let's go visit. I mean, they get to go on some of the best paid vacations ever. They get to go to Vegas, to Kissimmee. They get to see all the bright lights, and they only work for 8 seconds. They have a great gig.
Yeah, great gig, and if you're into blackjack, I'm sure they'd let them in the casino to
Yes,
play
sir.
a couple of hands of blackjack. So again, what are some of the others? Now you mentioned barrel racing is always kind of intrigued me. That is where you have to. I mean, you talk about maneuvering on your horse
Yes, sir.
and holding a thing, but these folks, Stephen, talk about that. Talk about how they have to maneuver around these barrels and get within a certain time.
Well, obviously the fastest that you get around the pattern is the person that's going to win the competition. But they're going to enter the arena, they're going to cross through a time barrier, and the time starts. And you can either choose to go to the first barrel on the left or the right. You circle that barrel, you go to the barrel on the opposite side, circle it, then you go down the remainder to the other end of the arena, circle that barrel, and exit the arena. And whoever does that the fastest is going to win the competition. It's a 15, 16 second extreme thrill ride going really fast on a super powerful horse, making a 360 degree turn and shooting to the other end of the arena, another 360 turn to the final turn that's 360 degrees and straight out the arena.
And so the stock is provided, these horses are provided through the stock company, or is this something that you, because I can't imagine having 10 or 15 horses trained specifically to do this.
The barrel racers bring their own horses.
So they've trained on that. So
They've trained on
their
that.
horses
Yes,
know
sir.
what they're up against.
That's right. They know that rider. The rider knows that horse. They know exactly what to do and what they're going to expect. And they've worked many, many hours training on this horse. And there's a bond between that horse and rider.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the rodeo. I want to get into steer wrestling. I want to get into the bronc riding. I want to get into calf roping. I mean, there's so many things that you can see at the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Don't go away. You're watching FGC TV.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Florida Gateway College's Perspective. My guests today on the program represent the Gateway Florida Pro Rodeo, or the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo.
You got it.
Anyway, Stephen, you changed the name of the fairgrounds to what?
We changed the name to the Florida Gateway Fairgrounds. And we did that because everyone seems to think when we called it the Columbia County Fair that it's a product of the Columbia County Board of County Commission or government. And the Fairgrounds is not. It's ran by a local nonprofit agency that we don't receive state or county funds to operate. Everything we do is ran by a governing board of volunteers, and volunteers is what puts on our rodeo, our county fair, and the different events that we host at the fairgrounds.
And it seems like I believe the chamber is actually trademarking Florida's Gateway as Lake City, Columbia County. So, you know, the college has changed the name, the airport now has changed the name, the fairgrounds now has changed the name. So it's kind of getting kind of a uniform feel to the Gateway to Florida.
That's right, kind of branding going along with the branding of our area.
Okay, let's talk about steer wrestling. Who wants to tackle? No pun intended. Who wants to tackle steer wrestling?
I will. That is hands down one of my favorite events of rodeo.
Okay.
All right.
Tell me about steer wrestling. We're going to, you know, the video you've been seeing here on the program was a compilation from, I believe, last year. So you're actually getting to see what we're describing. So talk about steer wrestling.
All right. Steer wrestling, you have two people, and they are all very important. You have your hazer, who is your cowboy. He's going to be on his horse, and his job is to keep the steer running straight. And then you'll have your other cowboy, or the bulldogger, as they call him, and he'll be on his horse. All right. I feel like I need to stand up and do this.
No. You're good. You're good.
All right. So you'll look, and you're not. First off, there's a barrier to make sure, and the barrier ensures that the steer has a fair chance and gets out in time.
Now, can a steer escape without being wrestled at all?
So, oh yes, sir, he can. There's some fast steers, and some horses will get a little bit lazy on you. And it takes, let me tell you, steer wrestling takes a whole lot of skill. You got to have a horse who can go from 0 to 30 in 2 seconds and get there, because these times, they'll be turning out times 3-4 second times.
Okay, so you rope the steer.
No, so you don't rope the steer.
You,
All right, so
you jump on the steer.
Here's the cool part. All right, your hazer's over here. He's running right beside the steer, keeping him close, and then you jump off your horse while he's running about 35 miles per hour. You jump off of him, and it's all technique. And let me tell you, it's some hard technique. So you got to grab him, so you grab his nose, and then you put your arms like around his horns, and you got to flip him over. But the thing is all four legs have to be sticking straight out, and then your time is called.
Okay.
But you got to
so
jump off onto him and flip him.
There's so many different
Yes,
things
sir.
that could go wrong.
So
I hate to
many
say this.
factors.
I mean, you know, your hazer doesn't get
Your
the
hazer,
steer.
or you get a steer that'll duck. There's some nasty steers.
These steers are not your family steer. The steer is running to get away from something, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and your instinct is not to fall off a horse. Your
Yeah,
natural
you're
instinct is to
holding.
hang on, and you're running wide open, getting ready to bail off your horse. It's,
So
it's not.
so it takes a pretty brave person to be able to do that,
Yes,
to jump off a
yeah.
perfectly good horse at 30 miles an hour to wrestle a steer down to the ground. Again, that's also timed.
Correct.
All right, calf roping. I think calf roping is what I was thinking about. That's a single person on a horse. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, actually, the proper name is tie-down roping or calf roping, but calf roping is what we call it around here. And calf roping, once again, as you stated, it is a one-person event. So just like with the bulldog, when you have a barrier, and if you hit the barrier, then you get a time penalty. And if you hit the barrier, you're done, you're not pulling a check. So it's a whole lot of coordination you have to watch, and your timing has to be perfect. So you'll rope him, you'll jump off your horse, run down there, flip him, and then tie his legs, and it's timed as well.
All right, and the last but not least, I think just one more, bronc riding?
There's two, and then
Two?
team roping too.
Team roping. Okay, so talk about bronc riding. Now this is a horse
Yes, sir.
that has not been trained.
Yes, sir.
What do they call? They call it breaking a horse, right?
Well, that's back in the roots of the sport goes back to breaking the horses, and that's actually saddle bronc. Saddle bronc is the most traditional event, and it goes all the way back in the old days whenever we had to break horses.
Oh, when they're wild
Yes,
horses
sir.
and you wanted
Where they're
something to
wild, so
ride.
you're going to break them. Yes, sir.
Those horses didn't want to
Yes,
have
sir.
anybody on their
There's
back.
two different types of rough stock events, or the horse events. There's bareback, which you have no saddle. You have this rig, and it's got a place for your hand, and you hold on, and it's a lot of feet action. And then you have saddle bronc, which you have the saddle and a rein on the horse, and you hold on to the rein. But with both of them, you have your mark out rule. Do you know what that is?
No.
Probably not. All right. So here's the point of the horse's shoulder. You have to have your spurs or your feet. His first jump, whenever he lands, your feet have to be right there on his shoulders to mark him out. And if you don't mark him out, then you're disqualified. You can have the prettiest ride ever, but if you did not mark him out, then it doesn't matter. So it's a lot of strength.
And last but not least is the team roping. We're running out of time here, so I'm going to try to wrap things up. Entertainment. You bring an entertainer in. Normally, the clown is most of the entertainment. Is that the case this year?
That's correct. Yes, we have the rodeo clown, and we also have the rodeo announcer. And the rodeo clown's your funny man. He's out in the barrel. He's making jokes. He's cutting up. He's cutting up with your cowboys, cutting up with our folks in the crowd, and just entertains and helps to educate as we're going along the process, as we're going along the rodeo for folks that may be new to the rodeo as well. He's also a second person in the arena to help if we need help or anything as well.
And that we need to talk about that too. Is that those people are between someone getting really hurt by making a bull go away, or so I mean it's very important the job that they do, the rodeo clowns.
Absolutely, our clowns, our pickup men, they're extremely important to the cowboys in the arena, so that nobody gets hurt there. If they get caught up in the riggings when they're trying to get off a bull or the saddle or the rough stock horses, they're there helping to get anything and keep that cowboy safe.
All right, we're going to take our last break and wrap things up. I'm going to tease this a little bit by saying we're going to talk about mutton busting when we come back. Don't go away. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
I was your age. I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to Perspective on FGC TV. We're talking about the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo. Try saying that fast 3 times. Our guests are talking about the events. I teased mutton busting.
Yes, sir.
Sounds funny.
Oh, it is one of the funniest things and one of the best, most entertaining parts of the rodeo that you will see. You will have little kids this big or this big, and they'll be riding sheep. And you think, oh, it's just a sheep. Let me tell you, them sheep can run so fast. And it is the funniest thing seeing them little kids. They will be decked out in their chaps and their spurs, their colorful shirts, and they will be hanging on for dear life.
So this is an additional fun event for
yes,
kids.
Sir. It is so funny. And the great thing about it is as long as they're under 75 pounds, they can do it.
Okay, so I don't know. Do you practice for this, Stephen? I don't know whether.
No, I don't.
No, I know you don't.
He's a little too big.
I'm a little bit too big.
But
You're 4 years old to 7 years old, have to weigh less than 75 pounds. This is our second year doing mutton busting at the Florida Gateway Pro Rodeo. And like Dallas said, it is a blast to watch these little kids. They love it. Since last year, we've heard every kids you go around town and like, are we doing mutton busting again at the fair this year? We do 10 kids a night, and it is the best part of the rodeo.
Well, and I'm just looking forward to that, seeing a kid on a sheep. If you'd like more information about if you want more information about the Gateway Rodeo, it's the 13th through the 15th. Those are the start times. If you'd like more information, you can log on to the Florida Gateway Fairgrounds website to get more information. Thank you all for being on the program today. We wish you the best of luck and hope you're successful and have big crowds there the weekend of the 13th.
We hope so too.
And thank you for watching and listening to Perspective on FGC TV. Until next time, I'm Mike McKee. So long.